Hello and welcome to the August 2019 Sunshine Summit. My name is Heather and I am your host. I host a podcast called Sunshine and Power Cuts, and this week I'm bringing to you a week of live streams to recognize and celebrate connections. We've been going live for 2 days. This is day 2 of the week, and we've been joined by some incredible guests. I'm very grateful to be joined by the amazing Curran from the Podcast Engineering School, Show and Podcasters Lounge. Welcome to the Sunshine Summit, Chris.
Thank you, Heather. Wow, I'm so excited. I get to be on the Sunshine Summit. How did this happen?
One of those connection things. Amazing.
That's true.
That's true. Thank you for being here. We've got some great people in the live chat. It is a live stream. If you can join us live, we're over on YouTube or sunshinesummit.live. But there is a Chris in the chat. His name is Chris Osborne. He'll actually be joining us later this week. We've got Ducky McDuckson, Steph from Changing Scripts or Geopats, and we've got Tim, and thank you everybody for coming live. Chris, you and I connected. I think I kind of knew of you through podcasting and podcasting things, because I actually went through and had a look at some of the episodes you've released earlier on, and there are some people that I remember listening to the episodes, and one of them is going to be Ben Brown, who's joining us tomorrow, so that's exciting to have that connection link there. But you are the founder of the Podcast Engineering School, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I'm all into podcasting since about early 2012, and I've been actually an audio engineer since the early 90s. So I'm an audio person. Like, that's how I consider myself. Just every day in life, audio is something that I'm very familiar with. So, I mean, my school, I started about 3 years ago because I see in podcasting that most people in podcasting don't know anything about audio production, like literally nothing. And then they gain a few skills here and there. But there's a problem because all these online tools we use and different mics and recorders, like the equipment and the services that podcasters typically use are not great. And there ends up being all these problems with the audio. And then they don't know how to fix that audio. So my school is basically there to teach. If anybody wants to know like how to produce actual professional audio, that's what I teach, because that's what my background is. So it's been going great so far.
That's awesome. And you're coming up to the next semester of the school?
Yeah, September 10th. You can see behind me, I got a bunch of mess because I'm headed off to Podcast Movement tomorrow. And so, yeah, we'll be starting the next semester, September 10th. I do about 4 semesters a year, so it's pretty cool.
That is awesome. Ducky in the chat says, Chris, I like your mic.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, this is an Electro Voice RE20. and it's actually a vintage RE20 from the 80s, I believe. And I think starting in the 90s, they started making them a little different.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Very cool. We've also got Banjo Podcast Edges in the chat. Yay, Chris.
Yes. Wait. Do you want to announce who else is here?
We do have
He's
another
off camera.
Guest. He is, but we do have another guest today, and his name is Barry. Welcome to the Sunshine Summit, Barry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute. I don't have a clip that says thank you. That's it's hard, you know.
He's excited.
It's hard to line up questions for specific clips. Anyway.
Yeah. And if you've been a part of the Podcasters Lounge, which is something that you set up last year and have been doing, it's a live stream each week, and it's a fun place to hang out for podcasters. And you actually went through a little bit of the connection story with Barry, and that was really awesome to hear and see who Barry is and how that came to be.
Yeah. Barry was an old maintenance guy in my building, and great guy, told just tremendous stories because he was a seaman working on ships, sailing all around the world. And I mean, just I asked him, I'm like, Barry, can you come in on like a Saturday or something and just sit here and let's talk? But he just worked there, so he couldn't come in, but he was an old dude too. But that was awesome. Yeah, I've been doing the Podcasters Lounge live stream almost as an experiment, actually. Just because I think live streaming is so cool. And I'm like, I want to do one too. So I started one, and I don't know if it's good. I mean, I don't know. I'm just doing it for now. We'll see what happens.
I enjoy hanging out there. I've been there, I think, since the beginning, and things like they are a little quiet until they get off the ground and people know about them, and then put them into their schedule to come along. It's a little bit hard doing something like this where it's a one-off week to try and get people to make time to come along, but you do it weekly, and it's been a lot of fun, and there's been a whole lot of different things that we've covered in there. So, yeah, Adam in the chat from Odd Dad Out said he was going to ask about Barry. So a lot of people would have heard him but not know the story.
Yeah, and most people, if you don't know, most people think it's Barry White, and most people think it's like the singer Barry White, but it's not. I mean, no. I have, I don't think Barry White ever said this. Like Barry, what is Heather gonna need to make this live stream really, really good right now? What is she gonna need?
You're gonna need a couple of horses or a couple of mules.
All right. So Barry White never uttered those words, I promise.
Yeah. Adam said that, like all the cool stuff, he's unfortunately working during the Podcasters Lounge, and he works night shifts, so that makes it a little bit tricky. But they are there, and you can catch them later too. You can watch them after, but
yeah, you can watch them after. And the other thing is, I would love to stream more. Like even when I do podcasts, like when I record my podcast show, I do it as if it's live. Like I'm not one of these scripted people and all this. We turn on the recorders and we go and we have fun. So like for me, for my personality, live streaming really works. And I really would like to stream more. It's just a matter of seeing how it fits in, because like during the day, most people are working, and it's like, well, how many nights a week? Like I work during the day too. I mean, I work for myself. I can make my own schedule, but it's like, how many evenings a week do I want to fill up with something? Because if you work all day and fill up the evening, and you do that for 3 days, you're spent. You're done. You're like, oh my God, I need a vacation.
Yeah.
So it's not so easy to schedule it.
No. Bandrew said, no way, your Barry has a much more better insight than Barry White.
Oh, forget it.
Wait, Bandrew's here?
Yeah.
Can we play? Wait. I'll play a 1K tone for Bandrew. Okay, Bandrew, that's what you get. Okay, there you go. 1 kilohertz. He likes 1 kilohertz. Bandrew told me once. He texted me. He said, Chris, I'm going to tell you something. I don't want you to repeat it. Okay. He said, my favorite frequency in the audio spectrum is exactly 1 kilohertz.
Wow.
I said, okay, dude. whatever floats your boat.
In response to that, he said, are you saying I make you want to swear, with a laughing face?
Oh, that's good. I'm not going to do it here, Heather. I would never foul your stream with the terrible jokes.
Thanks. But yeah, I think way back in the day, back in 2017, you had Bandrew on in December of 2017, and I listened to that one. But yeah, as I said earlier, I managed to discover that Ben Brown, who's going to be on tomorrow, was one of your guests last year. And I remember listening to that one and thinking, because he had a really cool thing in his signal chain, and it was the Cathedral Pipes Durham, the little mic activator. And I wanted that, and I went to go and order it from them, and they said, yeah, we'll ship it out to New Zealand, because I live in New Zealand and that's kind of tricky to get gear and stuff here. And they're like, we'll do it. And I'm like, okay, I'll take one. And I never heard back from them, and they never sent me one. So,
wow.
yeah. Huh.
That's weird. So you didn't actually place an order?
Yeah, I tried
online
to,
or
because I placed the order, and I had a thing because they needed to add on extra postage to ship it here, and they never fulfilled the order. It's weird.
See, Heather, you didn't build a good enough connection with them first.
Did not.
It's all about connections here, right?
Yeah, it is. So on that note, what are some of the amazing connections that you've made along this journey?
Oh man, well, there's a lot of journeys. There's the big journey, which is your life, and then there's smaller journeys within that bigger journey, and then there's micro journeys, and then there's, all right, I'm gonna stop there. But yeah, so so my life was actually different before about 2003. I was pretty much, obviously younger, and I was kind of partying, and just, I didn't have my life together, basically. So in 2003 is when I hit rock bottom, and I said to myself, that's it. I'm not living like this. I'm better than this. I got to fix my life. And so I did. I went through, it took years, but I went through steps, and I cleaned up my act, and started meditating, and I stopped all the, stopped drinking and stuff. And so from then on, my life was different. So like before that, I think my life was more transactional. Like I was trying to get somewhere. Not that I would use people. I was never a bad person. Let's say that. But at the same time, like, it was more all about me and my journey, and I'm moving forward and moving up. And if you're not coming with me, then forget you. And anyway, but then after 2003 and since then, my life is more whole, I would say. More, yes, it's about me, but it's also about everyone else, and it's also about doing good in the world, and also the sort of developing your own, some people call it spirituality, some people call it religion, some people call it cosmic consciousness. Developing that is really, really important. So there's all these important things. So now, so basically, to get down to a specific answer to your question about relationships, with, nowadays in my life, like, it really is, relationships are much more important, and I value them a lot more. So
yeah. It is. You're right. Our life, everything about us, there are all sorts of different journeys. There are big life journeys, and then they filter down. And connections can be big connections that you connect with people on an intimate level, close, day-to-day basis, or they can be the ones that we see every so often, or they can be the ones that we make through this audio journey, which I have to say, some of those ones have been some amazing connections that I've made along the way. The audio realm seems to have a breadth of people who look for or interact in that space and in the industry, and it's amazing. And Bandrew said he didn't know about this journey that you went through, Chris, and it's amazing that you're able to make those positive changes.
Oh, yeah. I have a whole story. I mean, I actually wrote a personal development book. I wrote a book about getting your life together and achieving your goals. It's called Leap Beyond Your Limits. I published it in 2010, I believe, before I got into podcasting. Before I got into podcasting, I wanted to be Tony Robbins.
Oh, yeah. And so
but
what
I
was
failed. I tried that. I tried that for years, and it was, oh my God. Here's what you should do. Everyone watching this, either today or tomorrow, whatever part of the world you're in, go out in the world and tell people that you can help them. You can help them achieve more in their life. Tell them that. You know what's going to happen? They're going to run away. Because first of all, they're going to think you're weird. Second of all, most people think they're doing great already, even though they're miserable. Yeah. So that's a weird thing to try to do, to try to help people. It's just weird. I did it for 3 years. I couldn't do it. I said, I can't do this. I want to help everybody, but nobody wants help. Everyone thinks their life is wonderful, but then they just complain and whine and cry about it. It's like, well, so what are you going to do? It's weird.
It is weird. What was the name of the book that you wrote? I just had a bit of an audio glitch as you said that before. Sorry.
Oh, Leap Beyond Your Limits.
Leap Beyond Your Limits.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. I mean, it's not the best book in the world, but it's good. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's better self-help books, but
do you know what though? I think that you would have your own voice that you shared through that story and that book. And like I read self-help books all the time, and I find that just having someone else's perspective on something, even if it seems like common sense and I already know it, reading about it actually helps kind of internalize that and use it going forward. So yeah, but I can see the thing of saying that you can help people and then running away. Ducky in the chat said, I'm in Russia, they will kick me. So it might be a little bit
I'm telling you.
Yeah. And Steph said she can't even achieve more in her life. She's doing a lot. Steph is very multi-creative and has a lot of amazing ideas, and she can achieve things. Put her mind to it and make space for them, and she's got help along the way.
But what did she say? She cannot achieve more in her life?
Yeah. I disagree with her. So.
Well, it depends on how you're talking about it.
Yeah.
Like some people think achieving more is doing more. Like you have to do more and you have to have money in your bank account. You know, instead of having one podcast, you need 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She said it was a joke, and then Ducky said that she's an overachiever. Oh no, no, I got that wrong. She didn't say that she was an overachiever. I read that wrong. He said that she's an achiever. I'm sorry, putting words into her mouth. Banjo said if they think it's weird, that'll be one thing they'll write about in terms of helping people. I think there's a way of being like, you got to figure all that out, how to approach people and how to make connections. And I mean, I got a nickname the other day, the Queen of Connections, which is kind of funny. I think it's just a different way you go about it. You are very, now in the podcasting space at least, very helpful and do want to help people. And the Podcasters Lounge is all about that, but also just about a place to hang out and feel comfortable and connect with each other outside of the projects that we do, which is awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Aside from the podcast engineering school, where you teach people how to process the audio and become audio engineers, you have the show where you chat with other people. And I like how you, as I mentioned, you go through their kind of signal chain and what they're using. So how have you made some of those connections that you've brought onto the podcast engineering show?
Yeah, so a big part of me making connections in the podcasting space has been going to the big podcasting conferences. So I'm going to Podcast Movement tomorrow. This is 2019. And this is I think it's the 6th one. And I've gone to every single Podcast Movement from literally the first one, which was in, I think it was in Dallas, Fort Worth. And it was much smaller than it is now, obviously. And, but I just started going to that, and I've gone every year. And of course, the other one is Podfest in Florida with Chris Carritzos and John Dennis. Great guys. That's a great event too. Different event. They each have their own vibe and their own goals, if an audience, if you might say it that way. But going to these live events and meeting people has just been, I mean, I don't know how you would make these types of connections without going there and meeting someone face to face. You can't do it. I mean, it's obvious, but like, that's why when I ask people, are you going to Podcast Movement? Are you going to Podfest or these other events? And you can tell some people don't yet understand the value of going. Like when the amateur networker goes out to network, the amateur networker thinks like, what can I get in return? Like, I need business. I need 2 more clients. I'm going to go to this thing. I'm going to get 2 clients. But the person with more wisdom just goes and just tries to be a nice person and maybe help some people. And the business will come too. It's not that the business won't come, but you can achieve everything. And so I quite often encourage people to go to these live conferences, but and they say, oh, I don't have money, I can't do it. And I understand all those reasons. It's not that I don't understand, but it's, you know what, when someone goes to their first one and they have a great time, you know what they say, right? oh my God, this was awesome. I'm coming next year. I already bought my ticket. You know, the whole thing. It's just good. So anyway, I encourage people, and I've made some of my deepest connections there. In fact, usually when I go to those big events, I book enough people. Well, I meet enough people to book onto my show for like the next 6 months.
Cool.
So
yeah, I think there is a
Yeah.
huge thing for being able to go to the in-person things. It's a little bit tricky when you're not in the States, but I mean, that's another thing. I can make it a trip and save up and do that at one point. But being genuine in the way that you interact with people there too, and go with an open mind so that you're open to making the networking connections that are available in person would probably be a big thing, because a lot of people I've talked to in podcasting are kind of introverts, and they kind of like to not sort of, they like their little space they've got with their podcast and behind the microphone, and they feel pretty comfortable there, but going out and exploring the world can be a little bit scary.
yeah, and as you mentioned before, in addition to all that, as you mentioned before, the podcast industry and the I should say the people in podcasting, there's like this vibe within podcasting that's really good. And like people are friendly, people are helpful. It's not really competitive unless you're one or two people who I could name, but I'm not going to name. But those people just want to kill people and make money, man. Kill everyone else, make money, man. Besides a few people like that, everyone is literally so down to earth and so just normal and helpful. It's just great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't talking about Bandrew either, by the way. Bandrew's not one of those people.
No. Anthony said he wishes that there are events close to his state. Did you go to the Outlier one recently?
I did. Well, they had one in Denver, which is an
Yeah.
hour and a half from me, so I did go. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a small event. Yeah, I mean, look, you can only go to you can only do what you can do, right? If you have a family and you have a job and you can't get away and it's too far, I get all that, but you know, there's ways to make it happen. Like let's make it happen. Let's do a fundraiser or something. We got to get you, Heather, over here for some of these events.
Yeah.
Over to the US.
Yeah, and then there's a suggestion that there's a conference in New Zealand, so everyone will have to come here. Podcast conference in New Zealand.
That's right. We'll go there.
Yeah.
We'll take a boat.
That'll take a while.
Well, so here's the thing. I want to take a boat, and maybe Bandrew can come with us, or come with me and us, because I want to also go to Antarctica on the way, or on the way back.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be fun on a boat. I get horribly seasick, so at least I'm here, and you'd be coming here to visit me, and I wouldn't have to go on the boat.
Really? You get seasick?
Yeah, terrible.
Oh, man.
Funnily enough, I have a yacht too, but anyway, I haven't
Really?
gone sailing in it for a while. Yeah.
I wonder if you took let's say you blindfolded a person. I hope you don't mind tangents here
That's
on the
all good.
sunshine stuff. What if you took someone, blindfolded them, and you didn't tell them where you're taking them? You put them in like a container, like, you know, those containers that they put on the ships. Put them in a container with like one of those geoscopes that sort of keeps the thing level.
Oh, yeah.
And like do a bunch of stuff so that you could put this container on a ship and the person would not know they were on a ship at all. And it wouldn't rock back and forth at all. And then just go ride around on the ocean for a while and then see if the person gets seasick. Have they ever done that? That's the question.
We have to figure this out. But Bandrew said that he's on board with Antarctica visits, so you might have just sold him on that one.
Yeah, dude, because he can do a live conspiracy corner right from Antarctica.
Yeah. Mark said the party boat, and Ducky asked, "Can you get the party boat to the Baltic Sea too?"
Yes.
Anything
Of
is
course.
possible. Yeah.
By the way, where's the Baltic Sea?
Might need to brush up on our geography before we do this trip.
Isn't that like Norway and stuff? No.
Up the north. Up in the north. So that's amazing that you've made a lot of connections from going to the events and having them on the show, and it's really cool to hear their stories, because podcasting is this amazing thing that we can take and use and do in any which way. There aren't really a set of rules, or like there are best practicey type things that you can have, but like we can still do something and create something in our own way. And hearing how people go through that journey and share that on your show has been really interesting and helpful for me as a An aspiring podcaster, I don't know, like someone starting out, but also just being on the journey and learning from them.
That's cool. Yeah, I I like my show in that when I talk to different people and go through all their equipment and their workflow and their software, and you get the whole picture of how they're producing episodes. That's pretty helpful, man. Like, people like it. I mean, I don't have a huge audience, but I have a good audience.
Yeah. Chris said, "Stop it, Heather. You're not aspiring anymore." Yeah, thanks, Chris. In the chat. It is helpful because when people put out their podcast episodes, you don't know what the tech is behind it unless they do a rundown of what they're doing. It's kind of just this magical thing where you get to hear the finished product and you don't get to hear what goes into it. And yeah, it's cool having that insight.
Yeah, I think it's good. And so for people who want to hear about that, it's great. There was nothing like it when I started, and there still is not anything like it. But people don't know that. One of my problems in the podcasting space is that people don't understand the level at which I teach. They don't even, like, it's one thing if you know, like, for instance, let's say you want to become a historian. People know that you can go to college for 4 years and then you can get your PhD in history. It's going to take you 7 years or more. But you'll be a PhD in history and you're going to know everything about history. You're going to be like a world-class professional in history. Here's one thing about podcast production and audio production within podcasting. People don't even understand that they can do that. They don't know that there's an opportunity to actually learn audio for real and produce really good audio, and that it does make a difference. They don't even know that's an option because podcasting has just been this thing where, oh, start a podcast, just hook in a mic and go, which is, again, it's fine. But anyway, I'm trying to grow my school and I don't know how.
Yeah. Well, it does make a huge difference if you really look into it. There is so many things involved in it, and there is no way that you could possibly maybe eventually learn all of that on your own, but why not take your experience that you have and you've put it into a course and made it so that it's accessible and usable for people to actually take that knowledge on and use it in their practice. So I think there's a huge amount of value in the skill that you have. Yeah. And more people need to learn more about it. Yeah, and
it's for a minority of people for sure. Like, most people, it's too much for most people. Like, most podcasters, they don't need to go to that depth, but some do. Some want to go to that depth.
Yeah. Steph said, to be honest, she listened to your show, Chris, when she started podding. She was using her phone to record and was not editing, so she didn't understand the vast majority of the content, but she continued to listen, and she's come a long way in her journey, and she's listened again last month and understood a lot more and loved it, and she felt like a hurrah moment, a big hurrah moment, being able to understand. Yeah,
that's what happens when I get inside your head and I just start whispering to you. Like, the moment when you fall asleep, you'll be like, what ratio should I have on my compressor? And then you'll fall asleep. And then you'll wake up and you'll be like, oh, yeah, I want to do some little leveling and some luffs.
And then organize your plugins and all of the plugins that you try out. It's amazing what you do and how you've learnt all of that and use it. And this, for me, I'm a bit of a geeky tech person. I enjoy it. And it's like overwhelming just how much is involved. Like, I have RX-7 and I don't even know how to use it.
Oh. All right. Well, we might have to do a little maybe in the lounge. Well, no, I don't want to be that technical in the lounge. I sort of made that decision. Yeah.
Yeah. And Bandrew's asking, but what ratio should we use on our compressor? Thanks. Bandrew wants to know what the ratio should be.
Well, we're not going to. See, I should do, you know what? I should do like some sort of a Q&A. I would love to do a Q&A live streaming, like hardcore audio production. I would love that, but I don't know if anyone would show up and all that. Anyway.
Anyone in the live chat here, if you have questions for Chris, we're going to do a Q&A live stream. Send them in.
Let's do it. We'll do a one-off thing. Let's gather a bunch of questions, then we'll do one thing. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Dave Lee, who was my guest earlier today from the Waves of Tech and International Podcast Day, is here, and he said it's his first time hearing you, and very energetic.
And he says, yuck. No. He says, this is absolute.
No. Ducky said he would go to sleep just.
Oh, jeez. Good thing you weren't drinking. Water.
I can't. Yeah, not drinking water. Oh dear. Yeah. You guys are great in the live chat. It's awesome to have you here. Adam says listens to Chris long enough and you start hearing Barry in your sleep. So not just you, but Barry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anthony said the small tip you give out and make a huge difference in people's audio. The times you've mentioned settings in Shep's Omni channel has made it so easy to make and adjust their on the road setup. So Anthony and his wife Steph have Off Center Archers podcast, and they've done recordings on the road, which is really awesome. And listening to you has helped them adjust their setup.
Nice. Very good. Yeah, the Shep's Omni channel, great plugin.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, anyone in the live chat who's watching this now or afterwards, pull some questions together for Chris. That would be amazing to do a Q&A session.
Yes, bombard me with questions, please.
Yeah.
Send them anywhere. Doesn't matter. I see everything.
But people who are in the live chat, I want to ask you, what are your connections with Chris and with the Podcast Engineering Show? Or if you've come by the Podcasters Lounge and what you've got from it, that would be amazing to hear. You, on the note of small tips and things that you do, you have the Daily Goodie, which is sort of a small something that people can take away. And I think you email them out to people, but also do you have them as an episode?
Yeah, so it's a daily email or a weekly roundup email. And I also do an episode every other week where I sort of summarize, like, I think 10 or 12 daily goodies. Yeah.
Yeah. They are really awesome little tidbits of audio information or anything to think of to help you along the way.
Yeah, little tips if you're into it.
Yeah.
It's good, man. It's like learning. That's one way that what I appreciate about what I can do in terms of this teaching I'm doing is that it's not that you have to learn everything in a week or a month, but like over time, if you just get little bits of knowledge dripped on you, little bit, I'm telling you, over a couple years, it's like, it'll be like a complete transformation. Really?
Yeah. It's like the quote about the river cuts through rock, not because of its force or whatever, but because of its persistence. A little bit can cut through rock in the long way. Anyway, Benji
by the way, I wanted to.
Oh, sorry, you go.
Sorry, I just want to, before I forget, I know we're talking about connections, and I wanted to talk about maybe now or later. You tell me when, but like this whole the when people try to make connections, but they do it in a really fake and phony way.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, my point is like a lot of people in the world will tell you, especially for business, oh, make connections and go on LinkedIn and message people and do all this stuff. And then people do it, but they do it like a robot, and they do it in a very selfish way. When you get a message from someone on LinkedIn who's like, hi, I'm glad we're connected. I'm selling a product. It's called XYZ, and you might really like it. So please buy my product. Thank you, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so the overall point I want to make is that trying to make really fake and phony connections is actually bad for you. Mm-hmm. It's not good. And so if you just don't do that, that's better.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Don't make phony connections. That's one of the highlights from the session. But the way you interact with people is huge. Like, when you follow someone on Twitter and you get an automatic DM back saying, thanks for following us, here's our stuff to check out. But there's no real person behind that. It is literally just an automated message. LinkedIn, I won't touch with a barge pole, so I have no idea how that works, to be honest. It's just not something I want to get into. But it really is important to actually sort of look at what connections you're making and how you can either offer them value or recognize the value that they offer and let them know might be a really good way of like starting a conversation with someone. Like, yeah, when I heard that you were doing the Podcasters Lounge, I was like, this is exciting. I'm going to get on board and see what this is like, and I'll hang out and, I think there was one of me on Twitter or Twitch watching, and just I don't promote myself in all the groups. I think that's another thing, Facebook groups and all the places that you can be in communities with people, and people promote themselves, but they don't engage in other people's threads or actually offer help to people. I mean, if you offered help, you'll get known for that first, and then people will want to check out what you do.
Right.
Yeah. There was a note before that Bandrew said that he listens to every episode of the Podcast Engineering Show. It's such an amazing show that I always walk away from having learned something, and the pod lounge is so much fun hanging out in.
Sweet.
And
I talked to Bandrew about planning, because I want to start doing some shorter YouTube videos as well. Not live, just regular YouTube videos. And so Bandrew helped me a lot getting ready to do that. So now I'm actually ready, but I still haven't done it, partially because of podcast movement and everything. But like, also, I don't know, doing videos is different. I don't know. YouTube is a place now where if I just put up a video of me on camera talking about something for 2 or 3 minutes, like, I think people would watch that. Even if what I'm saying is good, they'd be like, oh, this isn't much. It's not a great video. There's no overlays, or I don't know. I just think that, like, for you to do YouTube videos well, like, there's a certain level of the bar, and I don't want to be below that bar. Like, I don't want to put out videos and people look at them and go, oh, this is lame. Click. So
it is a challenge. Yeah, it is a challenge for those of people who've, like Bandrew, who've been on YouTube for a long time now. He's worked through things and sort of built up to where he is. And so the people who are on YouTube that you see now, they've got that level of all the fanciness that they put around their videos and stuff. But I still think that there are ways of connecting with people there and putting out what you have, and it'll resonate with people. I mean, you've still got to go on a journey and learn all of those things. And Bandrew agrees. He says you're selling yourself short, Chris. And even if you're right, you'll never get to that level until you start and you work through it, which is just what I was trying to say.
Right.
Yeah. Just back before Dave said that it's all about being authentic and real when you're making connections. And American Liberty asked about the Pod Lounge, which is a podcaster's live stream lounge that happens on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, although Facebook comments don't end up in the chat. We've talked about that. That's a connection that needs to get fixed, isn't it, Chris?
Oh, can we get them on the phone right now, please? Restream.io. Hold on. I'm going to make a call.
Okay. But yeah, it is live every Wednesday, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much, Dave, for the link or the details there. That's awesome. And yeah, American Liberty's going to check it out because he'd heard about it but didn't know where to find it. So he's going to... Hopefully we'll see him in the next one. Anthony watches the replay of the lounge every week because the second shift life kills watching anything live. But thank you for checking it out afterwards.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. I take my hat off to people who do video stuff as well. And I think for someone who's doing like a podcast, if you did like the video element, I mean, there's a lot more that goes into the production of that, I think, than just doing... In terms of having to edit video is different to editing audio in a sense, but you can take the audio from it and use that as a podcast afterwards. But It's all skills and it's all practice and it's all learning. So I think you should give it a go, Chris.
People have told me to do that. They're like, why don't, because when they find out that when I record my podcast episodes, I do it as if it's live. And they're like, well, why don't you just run video at the same time? Because it's not doing much editing. I do some editing here and there, but not much. And I was like, I guess I could, but then I'd have to, every guest that I have, I'd have to tell them, oh, you're going to be on video and you got to have you have to be set up for video so you look decent.
Yeah, that is tricky. Yeah.
Audio is easier. It's like,
it is.
You could sit there in your underwear and do the interview and you're fine.
I got real comfy pants on right now. No,
Remember, was it the last lounge? Ralph's like, Chris, stand up. I want to see if you're wearing pants. I'm like, come on, dude.
I like the audio only journey. It is it helps me. I've had people ask if I would do video for my show as well, but it's kind of, I got to go through a whole process for when I record. I don't necessarily do it as if it was live, and so I like the idea of getting it all sorted. And I have to be in a bit of a mind frame when I do it, which is kind of derailed by looking into a camera. Dave said that he did live video for our podcast for 2 years, and it's definitely a different dynamic. Yeah.
Okay.
So Ducky asked, "Are you wearing pants, Chris?"
Am I gonna have to stand up
No.
again? Oh man.
Steph put that back and said, "Do ducks wear pants?" Because Ducky that's his character. But
Oh really?
yeah. Bandrew said that he
Barry.
just finished. Oh, sorry, you go.
Oh, Barry, should I stand up and show everyone if I'm wearing pants?
No way. You crazy?
Okay.
Yeah. Bandrew said he just finished episode 179 of the video podcast. It's so much extra work editing the video, but it allows for more discoverability on YouTube. So that's a difference between putting an audio only on YouTube, because YouTube is a visual platform.
Yeah, I still put my audio only on YouTube, and they don't get any listens. But
Yeah.
but I still do it. I don't know if I should stop. I guess it doesn't even matter. But anyway, that's a weird SEO kind of thing. Like, is it hurting me? Right? So I don't know.
Well, it's not your main place anyway. I mean, you've got the audio version of the podcast, and that's where your kind of main audience would be. So, yeah. Does anyone else have any questions for Chris while we're here? One of the things that I wanted to say that is I think, and from what I've experienced over the last year or so, is that you do have a genuine way of sharing the knowledge that you have, and you're, like Dave said, you're really energetic and passionate about it, and I think that rings true. And so I hope more people discover that and what you have to offer, and yeah, because you're awesome.
Oh, thank you. And it reminds me of, speaking of connections, like there are many people in the world of podcasting who they might know what I do, but maybe not. But they really believe in their heart that like none of what I do is necessary. Meaning they think people should just get any old USB microphone, plug it in, and just record audio and put out your show.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, a little editing. Okay, fine. But like, as far as like actually, engineering it and stuff, like, and worrying about all the little details, like a lot of people who've been in podcasting since the very beginning, 2004, 2005, their attitude is, don't worry about it. Just start your podcast. And there's nothing that gets me more crazy when any podcast coach or professional says, don't worry about the tech, just start your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. So that's just so not correct. And like, but anyway, it's okay because that's how they feel. And here's the other thing. I'm in the industry with them. So all those people are still friends of mine, even though they don't get what I do. They don't value what I do, but they're still my friends because I'm not trying to force my opinion on them.
Yeah.
I appreciate their opinion and I agree. Most podcasters don't need to worry about it. I agree.
Yeah.
But some do.
Yeah. And there will always be a place for engineering and professionals in the space, Dave said. So, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I always go back to what's the final product? When you download a podcast, what are you downloading? Audio.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Audio. So the quality of the audio is a big part of the audio.
It is really
I don't
important.
know.
It is really important. And I've gone on a journey that's been a little bit self-directed because that's just the path that I've taken so far. But I have a goal to make the end product as good as I can get it. And yeah, learning from you and the little bits that I take along from the podcast engineering show or your daily goodies has really, really helped. And I think it's important to put out the best sound that you can because, the power of voice and the power of podcasting, why not share that in a way that is accessible? And it's really hard to listen when you lose it when you're driving because the levels are out and all that kind of stuff, or editing's not ideal. And There's definitely a lot of room for learning. It's audio is, yeah.
So I also have a question about making connections.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
maybe the chat, and Heather, maybe you have an answer. Maybe the chat has an answer. I consider myself a small fish in the pond of podcasting, and there's other people who have shows, and I consider them big fish, right? They have big shows, and they're, might even be celebrities and stuff. And like, I always, it's like, I know in my heart what I'm doing is really good, and I also know there's a lot of people out there who could use what I'm doing. Like they really need they want the teaching that I'm providing, but I don't know how to get to them. So I always think, well, in the back of my mind, I always think, and maybe you guys have thought the same thing, like, ooh, maybe I could just, make friends with a celebrity or somehow get in good with somebody big, and then they could help promote what I'm doing, and that kind of thing. But I don't know how to do that, and I've never tried really, because what are you gonna do? Like, go up to some celebrity and, hey man, can you help me? Or they're just gonna be like, go away. Like, anyway, the connection, right? So the question is, if you do want to make connections to more successful people, should you try, and how do you do it? And is it a dumb question?
No, I don't think it's a dumb question. I think that it's probably very hard. It would feel like a very big project to try and reach someone who is big or famous or what have you. But I think what you do and the value that it has and the places that you share it, I don't know how to find those avenues to those people. I've seen people who've done marketing things where they've like made a specific video aiming it at the person that they want to get at the attention of, and had somewhat of a success of getting them on board. But then I know that being in groups, like whether it be the Facebook groups or whether it be turning up live in person to these things, you become known as a person in and of yourself. And it's this it's a process that you need to be of value yourself without the other person. And Badger kind of puts it there as well. I don't think you should make a connection with a famous person with the intent of getting something from them.
Exactly. That's
how would you get them on board in that way? Whereas if they noticed you for the amazing things that you're doing and the value that you're offering and you're sharing it in all of the places, then they would get on board because they wanted to. But
right.
It's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah, because I don't want to be that guy saying, "Hey, I can help you," or like even going to Podcast Movement. There's going to be some big speakers there, like Aaron. Well, I don't know what big podcasters are there, but let's just pick Aaron Mahnke, right, from Lore and all. He has a TV show and podcasts, several podcasts. Like, I could go to him, and by the way, this is all hypothetical. Okay. I could go to him and say, "Hey, Aaron, if I can, I'm an audio engineer, and if I can help you with your audio setup or anything, let me know." But he already has it all taken care of. Plus, that approach is so lame. It's like, I dealt with this last week with a person in the Facebook group about people offering help, but it's not actually a genuine offer for help. Like, there's clearly a motive behind it.
Yeah. So then the people who actually go around and find people with the problems and offer them the help that way, rather than push out, "I can help you." Well, it's like, that's just a promotion for you. It's not actually helping someone. It's kind of like people when they announce their arrival departure. It's like, well, so like, I mean, we all got to carry on and we're all busy and doing things. But if you like, there are so many groups to be involved in, for example, and I can't be active in all of them. I have very limited time to do all of the extra stuff that comes along with podcasting. But what I've done is, when I have been in there, I've read through, and if there's a post, and if I actually have something that I can offer value on because I have experience with it or something, then I will put that in there in the most helpful possible way that I can. And I mean, in order to make that work, I guess, and be known, you'd have to be fairly regular and active in those groups and comment on the Reddit threads or the Facebook groups and what have you, but you still have to help the person, I guess, and actually what their problem is, not just announce that you have help.
Right.
Yeah. What have we got in the chat? We had Chris gets big guests by just asking. One of the hosts of one of the biggest X-Men podcasts, game developers, published authors, comic writers, but their intent is to get them on the show to be a good guest.
Right.
I think, how you highlight that. I mean, I think it's pretty incredible that you're sitting here having this live stream with me. To me, you're a bigger fish than I am in podcasting. And that was out of a genuine way we interacted and I asked you to be a part of it and you were excited to be a part of it. So anything is possible, I think. Dave said Aaron's a super approachable in person, but would still be very strange interaction if you led with motives. So
exactly. I just want to be clear. I don't do that, and I'm not planning on doing that. I'm just sort of thinking out loud here. Because look, the difference in my school would be, instead of having about 5 students sign up every semester, every quarter, like what if I had like 50 people sign up? So like I'm just saying, like if I got, and this goes for anybody with their business, really, if you got one good break, you could like 10x your business like overnight. And my business is ready for that. Like I'm literally ready. It's just that anyway, I just keep going, and I'm not doing any of these wacky things. So maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But anyway, this is just always in my mind, right? That
you've put all of the effort into it too, so it'll feel like an overnight success, but it would have been the culmination of all of these things. And you have like the alumni of the school as well, so there are people who have gone through the podcast engineering school. And what do you do once they've graduated?
Sorry, what?
The podcast engineering school graduates, what do they do once they've finished? Do you keep in touch, or do you catch up at different events, or?
Oh yeah. So yeah, we do catch up at different events. We have a Slack group, which they're in for life.
Cool.
So all the graduates, whatever 65 or 68 graduates so far, we're all in one Slack group for life. So going forward, it's a very small, tight group of people who are very highly trained, who can help each other. And I also tell my students, a lot of my students, they want to have a podcast production company, which I do as well. That's my company, Fractal Recording, which that has been my main business since 2012. I actually produce podcasts for big companies. And I always tell my students, like, after you're done with the classes, like if you're going to build your business, someday you're going to get a call from a big company, like I can't think of a big company. Walmart. Someday someone from Walmart's going to call and say, yeah, we want to do a podcast. We're looking for a podcast producer. And we see that you're a podcast producer. Can we meet and talk about it? And my student's going to go, OMG, I might get Walmart as a client. And so I tell my students, if that's going to like, if you're going to meet with Walmart next week, definitely I'm willing to have a 30-minute meeting with you to help you prep for that client meeting, because that's an important meeting. That's that might be a once in a lifetime meeting that you go into. And so like I've actually worked with 3 companies of that size. So I've been in these meetings and I've gotten the business and it's been great. So a new person who's going into their first big meeting, I can actually help just a little bit. I can help in any way I can. So that's one thing I can do for my students as well, because like I said, that's a once in a lifetime thing right there.
Yeah, that's incredible. And that's amazing that they have that ongoing community together once they've graduated, to be connected with each other, but with you, and because now they're qualified in those skills. And that's awesome that they've got that. I think Dave had to go. Thanks for coming by, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Steph asked, what does success look like to you? For many of us, you are already there, but it sounds like you're still reaching. So what are you reaching for?
Good question. So the long game for me, well, the middle game for me is to grow my school and actually stop doing daily production.
Yeah.
Like to stop producing episodes every day and just be an instructor of the school. Then the long-term game is my wife and I actually want like to have a retreat center with a lot of land out in the woods, either maybe Colorado, Montana, something like that. Have a lot of land and have a retreat center where people can come and meditate and, well, and everything that entails, right? Which is like getting yourself together, getting your life together and all that, and focusing on the bigger aspects of life rather than just being like a little hamster in a wheel. So that having a retreat center, that's my ultimate dream of life. We didn't talk about it, but in 2000, remember I said 2003 was when my life turned around. That's when I started meditating, and I found the teachings of my guru, which I've been following ever since. And that has made such a difference in my life. I can't even explain. Like, that is the thing that made the biggest difference out of anything, is getting real with myself and my mind and my being. And when you become more clear with that and more decluttered of all the crap in your mind, in our minds, we all have crap. Like, then you start to see things clearly, and then you just sort of gravitate toward doing the right thing and then achieving good things. It just sort of happens because you are ready for it.
Yeah.
So
built that
anyway,
foundation
that's the long game, to have the retreat center. Sorry, what'd you say, Heather?
You built the foundation within yourself, and then all of that else would radiate out from that. That is amazing. The retreat center sounds awesome. But Andrew said, "Dude, will your retreat center have a podcast retreat? If so, I want to work there."
Dude, of course. I'm gonna have a studio. I mean, look, if I have enough money or something, if I hit the lottery, I'll buy like an old Neve console and a couple U47s and U67s. Dude, please, of course. I will always have my own at least a little studio for myself.
Nice.
So.
Anthony said the nature scenery is absolutely epic in northern Colorado and Montana. Super peaceful hiking area.
Yeah. I mean, so I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado, which is along the Front Range. So yeah, within the center, more central Colorado. Well, we are technically in central Colorado, but yeah, northern and central Colorado is awesome. And I've never been to Montana yet, but I know it's Colorado, but probably even a little more remote and nicer. I have been to Alaska, and I will say Alaska was one of the most amazing places I've ever been.
Very cool.
And I would love to have it up there, but the problem is it's up there, and it's like, to have anyone go there, it's like, dude, you know what I mean?
Well, if they make it happen, isn't that right? It's just like going to the in-person things, make it happen and make it a reality.
That's true.
Yeah. Daki said recreational podcasting. I think that's awesome that you'd have a space wherever you were to have audio.
Yeah.
Being able to record. Chris Osborne in the chat said, I used to live there, Chris, but we left when he was like 4 or 5. And Anthony said, if you go hiking in Montana, bear spray is a must.
What is?
Bear spray for bears.
Oh, bear spray. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I get that. Yes.
Yeah.
So I have bear spray in my pack.
Yeah. On that note, you do go hiking. That is one of your nature connections. And through the summit, I'm asking everyone what their favorite nature connections are. So would you like to tell us about what your favorite ones are?
Yeah, my favorite nature connections. We do like hiking. My wife and I hike quite a bit. And over the past 2-3 years, we've climbed a couple 14ers, which has been an amazingly difficult thing for us. I mean, we're not that young and we're not really that athletic. So for us to do it, like, we had to practice, and it was great. I do like the woods, and I like being out in the woods in nature. Like, to me, that I really like that. I know some people are more beach people, ocean and beach. They love that. Mm-hmm. And I do too. Although I'm not like a beach person. So even when we went to Hawaii, it was great. And we went on the beach, but like, that's like, it's good, but that's not my thing. So I think the woods, like deep in the woods, and, I think for me, it helps to be away from the hustle and bustle of society. That's the thing. It's like, you know, try to go on a busy street in New York City and try to sit down and meditate. I mean, it's not the right place for it, right? It's just, it doesn't seem right. But when you're out in the middle of the woods, you know, nature actually helps you. I mean, there's the one forest in Japan where they say people go there and hike in that forest because they say they call it like a, what do they call it? Like a forest bath?
Yeah, forest bathing. Shinroku, I think it's called. Yeah.
Forest bathing. Well, what is that? That's called all the nonsense and the craziness gets sort of absorbed away from you, although that doesn't make any sense. It sort of gets
drawn out from you,
taken away from you, drained away from you into nature. Nature absorbs it.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Wow.
Dave, who was here earlier, he likes to hike with his wife too. They like to go for walks and things. And that's one of my favorite things to do. Luckily, where I live, it's rural, so it's quite easy to go out for a walk. But then it's actually making sure you do get out there and do it. I've actually found when I lived in the city that I went out walking a little bit more. Which is interesting because it was easy to go for a walk around the neighborhoods. Whereas here, you've got to be careful of like rural traffic and stuff like that. But Ducky said, depends on the nature of the meditation. He would take the challenge of meditating in the middle of busy New York. Sounds intense.
Yeah, of course you can take that challenge and you could meditate and that, although my point was a little different than that, but yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. I think
in fact, some would say it would be easier to meditate there with all the noise than it would be like in the suburbs where there's some noise.
Yeah.
Because if there's a lot of noise, then it just sort of fades away into nothing because there's so much noise. The problem is when it's quiet and then there's noise and then there's quiet and then there's noise. And then of course the worst is if you're trying to meditate and you hear someone say your name, you know, good luck, you know, good luck not at least thinking about that for a moment.
Yeah. There is a thing though that, and a lot of articles and things are coming out now lately about the power of nature and what it has. Like all this wellness stuff is coming back into the articles and the news and things that you need to go and spend more time out there because we just are too connected and digital and all of like in our busyness of life rather than letting go and being out there. So I highly recommend everyone get out and do something to reconnect with nature because it really helps you reconnect with yourself. Bandrew said, the more that he hears you talk about things, the more he's convinced that you are him from the future.
Oh, jeez. I am Bandrew. I have a lightsaber.
May the force be with you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
You're welcome. On that note, thank you to everyone who's been here today. It's been amazing hanging out with you, Chris, for the Sunshine Summit. I really appreciate the stories of connections that you've shared and your journey with connections. It's been awesome. And on that note, for anyone who wants to connect with you, they can do so on Twitter. There's Podcast Engineer and the Pod Lounge on Twitter, but you're also on Instagram, Podcast Engineer and Podcasters Lounge, and you've got a Facebook for the engineering school and the lounge. And the lounge is a great community there. So not just the live streams, but there is a community group on Facebook to join. And for all of the details, you can find them at podcastengineeringschool.com, I believe.
Yes. Thank you, Heather. Yeah, and I would like just to, you know, I like your Sunshine Summit for many reasons. One of them is that the word sunshine is there. And so we have, you know, that's one thing in life. Like sometimes our lives can become a little depressing or we can become angry or we can get sucked into social media, which is just a cesspool of garbage for the most part. We can get sucked into politics, which is the biggest cesspool of idiocy and garbage I've ever seen ever. So we can get really sucked into a lot of these negative things and get all wound up in it and get all like, oh no, Democrats are right. Oh no, Republicans are right and all that crap. But the beauty of sunshine and the sun itself is that it's always there. It's always shining. It's always providing for us. And so in our lives, even in the worst moments, even in every moment, the good moments, the bad moments, the mediocre moments, that sun is always there shining and supporting us and giving us the strength to become what we have to become. So that's always there. Each of us, we can always revert back to that and rely on that in our heart, that sunshine that's there. And that really helps us get perspective on this stupid stuff outside of us. And I'm not saying it's not, not 100% not important. Maybe politics is 0.1% important. All right, I'll give you that much. But dude, there's way more to life than all the garbage going on in this world. And when you realize that, and you get in the habit of coming back to your heart and being a true human being within yourself, that's when the sunshine, or the divine sunshine, is with you and helping you always.
Yeah. That is amazing. That is the highlight of what the Sunshine Summit is to shine a light on others. And above it all, the sun is shining, and it's something that I kind of hold on to help lift me up when I'm feeling low. And it's amazing to have this celebration, which is also warm and bright and all of those wonderful things. So the theme of sunshine is definitely irradiates literally throughout pretty much all that I do. And I really appreciate you having you here today to be a part of that.
Thank you, Heather.
To everyone else, thank you for joining us for the live chat, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for day 3. And until next time, be empowered by nature.